He's Pat Kirwan, NFL draft analyst for CBS Sports, and he joins me now on the show. Pat, have you spoken to Pete Carroll?
Yes, I have. We almost speak, I wouldn't say daily, but 2 or 3 times a week. So I've already talked to him about what happened Sunday.
How would you say he's dealing with the fallout from that last couple of plays?
You know, he's a lot different than most of us, and he decided almost immediately to take the whole thing head on. And I didn't know that was a great idea, but I know his personality, I know his style, and we've been friends a long time. And I knew that he would continue to stand there and, A, take the blame, B, explain his rationale for selecting the play. And I don't know that I agree with the play. I probably would have run the ball, but he didn't feel that way. And I think he's done a decent job of trying to turn the page here. He knows there's plenty of critics out there, but he's more interested in unifying his football team and getting ready for the next season. So that's his style. It's always been his way, and he's never been viewed as conventional, to say the least.
If he had to do it again, would he do anything different?
I don't know that he would. I've had that discussion with him, and you know, a couple of things that are interesting about the whole what transpired. That defense went on the field first, which is extremely unusual in the NFL. Most defensive people hold their defensive players until they see what you put on the field on offense. The defense went out first, and they went out with 4 linemen, 4 linebackers, and 3 corners, which basically told them they're in goal line defense. So that response was natural for a lot of coaches. I'm sure Darrell Bevell had a lot to do with it, but Pete okays everything, so he takes the blame. When I looked at the play 100 times, I will say a couple things about it. Number one, the matchups on the opposite side of the throw were all man-to-man, and Marshawn Lynch was being handled by Chandler Jones, and he beat him right to the flat on an arrow route. Luke Wilson had Jamie Collins. I would give that as a push. And then Baldwin had Revis. So he had an opportunity on the other side if he wanted to throw the ball to Lynch. Chris Matthews wasn't in the game, the guy who made the big play at halftime. So I might look at the personnel and drill down a little bit into why wasn't Matthews out there. And outside of that, and then when I looked at the defensive line, Chris, I'll tell you, they left the C gap, which is right in front of Marshawn Lynch's alignment. They left that gap open. And they basically told Hightower, who was pretty deep in the back of the end zone, you come downhill if they try to fill that C gap with Lynch. I don't think he would have got there in time to stop the run. So in retrospect, I would have run the ball or thrown to Lynch, because those, to me, were the matchups that were more intriguing.
With how things transpired in this game and the way it ended, how much of a challenge, if any, do you think it's going to be for Pete to get his guys back on the same page with him next year?
You know, he's been a forgiving guy with them, and they know that. And I've talked to a couple of the players. They know how Pete's been. He's been pretty open with them on letting their personalities be part of the equation there. So I think they understand Pete. They understand he's a bold coach in a lot of ways. I think they'll be fine. I don't know that they'd be fine in most situations, but the kind of guys and the way he's developed his culture there, I think they'll bounce back, and they'll be right in the middle of everything next year. And, you know, the Patriots had to bounce back twice from giant losses, and they were able to do it, and I think Pete will draw some strength from that as well. So I'm not worried that much about it. I am hoping that Lynch comes back. If you're a Seattle fan, they're going to pay him enough money to come back. But if he didn't come back, I think that would affect their ability to be a great team next year.
Pat Kirwan hanging out with us here on the Dan Patrick Show. The NFL Draft coming up in April in Chicago. Thoughts on the new location?
It'll be the first time. I've been covering the draft since I left the league, so it's about 15 straight years, and it kind of became a New York City thing. I'm excited to go to Chicago. I think you should rotate this around. I don't think it's an event that Chicago should have for 5 years. They're going to find out how tough it is to get people in the building on the third day. And the NFL has done a lot to orchestrate youth groups and everyone else, but many a year there is nobody left as we hit the 6th and 7th round. So there'll be some challenges there, but they've made it such a big event that Chicago will pack the place. The bigger question for me is, who's the third quarterback in the draft, and are you really going to take a pass rusher in the first round? Those two subjects, to me, will drive a lot of the decisions in this draft.
Well, let's talk about that first round. There'll be a lot of people in the seats for that one in Chicago. Mariota, I'm looking at mock drafts, looks like he's going to Tampa Bay. Winston may be going second. Who are the top 3 quarterbacks in what order?
You know, I think Winston's going to take a surge here. You're going to hear people start talking about Winston as the top pick and Mariota as the second one. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the coaches, I think the most important thing for the people watching and listening here, the coaches really are just starting to get involved in the process. And they're going to scrutinize Winston a lot. And when I was in this, when we had a first pick in the draft, we had private investigators follow players for a long time,
Wow.
trying to make sure we knew what was going on with them outside. And that's Winston's whole issue. So the scrutiny will be on. Mariota's a safer pick, but especially Mariota, you're talking about a guy that's coming from a shotgun offense. So if you don't have an appetite for the stuff he's done on tape, the one thing that Robert Griffin and Manziel and these guys are teaching these coaches is don't take those guys if you're trying to build a traditional offense. Take them because you want to do the things they're doing. And Seattle does enough stuff now that I think you'll see more open-mindedness about how to handle a guy like Mariota. I don't think Philadelphia can reach up to get him. It's too far away. The third quarterback looks to me like it's starting to be Brett Hundley from UCLA. And will he get to the bottom of the first round? Well, that's what happened with guys like Joe Flacco. So I think Hundley, barring any disasters between now and the draft, could push himself into the bottom of the first.
Combine's coming up. Last year was all about Manziel and Michael Sam, and this year I'm sure Winston will be the hot topic. Besides that, what should I be looking out for in the Combine?
Last year we had 4 guys go in the first round that were supposed pass rushers: Clowney, Khalil Mack, Barr, and D. Ford. Okay, between them, they had over 2,000 plays in their rookie season, and they generated 9.5 sacks. None from Clowney. He only played in 4 games. 1.5 from Ford. I think the message that's real and true is the coaches are frustrated taking these rookie speed pass rushers. A, they don't have a counter move. They don't convert speed to power. They don't cross the face of tackles. And so they're one-trick ponies, and offensive tackles can block them. So now here comes this draft, and there are even more guys with potential first-round grades. Randy Gregory, Shane Ray, Vic Beasley, Fowler from Florida, Bud Dupree from Kentucky, and maybe even Hunter from LSU. That group right there, they don't have a lot of sacks. And I can go through each one of them. What's the point? There are guys that are basically speed rushers, and NFL left tackles stop them in their tracks. So the coaches claim we don't get enough time to work with them. With all the time we don't practice anymore, these pass rushers are not getting time to develop counter moves. So I think if you take them, you better be thinking they're not going to be very good till 2016.
Did Cardell Jones make a mistake?
Did he make a mistake? I don't know. I have a hard time using a rearview mirror on anything. Do you think he made a mistake?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious if NFL teams saw enough out of him to draft him in one of the first 2 rounds. And he's coming back to a situation at Ohio State where we don't even know if he's going to be the starting quarterback. I mean, do you feel like the NFL teams would have taken him in one of those first 2 rounds? Would he have been the third quarterback taken to the draft?
Well, I'll share with you what Bill Cowher and I talk about. Bill and I spend every Sunday together watching the games at CBS. I'm involved with the NFL Today show. And when he made that decision that he was going to stay in school, Bill turned to me and said, if I was in the NFL right now, I would have taken him in the first round.
Wow.
So maybe that's the answer of why it's a mistake that he went back. Because he is what I think the NFL coaches generally want anyway, a big physical pocket passer with a lively arm. And whether he was going to play as a rookie or not doesn't matter. And I think the point I made back to Bill that day was, I think I'd rather have him in my program and me training him for a 2016 entry into a game than him sitting at Ohio State and maybe not playing or just playing Ohio State football. So once Cowher said that to me, I kind of said, you know what, maybe it is an official mistake.
Good to visit with you, Pat. Appreciate the time.
Take care, my friends. Have a good day.
That's Pat Kirwan, CBS Sports